Hi everybody, I'm Phillip Steenkamp, President and Vice Chancellor of Royal Roads University. I'm so glad that you could join us today, and with me is our head gardener, Barrie Agar. Normally, of course, at this time of the year, we would be holding a garden party here at Royal Roads, and it's a wonderful event with great company, nice food, and some refreshments. But this year, of course, with this pandemic, we are unable to hold an in-person garden party, so we're going to try and give you a virtual tour of the garden. These gardens are a very, very special place for a number of reasons. For students and alumni, members of the community, these gardens and grounds provide a place of rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. And for some, it's also a living lab where they can see environmental stewardship in action. Now this fall, we're announcing our new vision for Royal Roads' next 25 years. And I'm very happy to let you know that part of that vision is a university goal to help support and preserve the vibrancy and sustainability of this special place for generations to come. So on today's tour, Barrie and I are going to visit some of the most beautiful places of the garden and share with you what we hope to accomplish this year in the gardens. So before we start, of course, I would like to acknowledge that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Kosapsan and the Lekwungen indigenous nations whose ancestors and families have lived here for thousands of years. This land has been part of the fabric of indigenous communities long before Hatley Castle was built, and it will be long into the future. And it's with real gratitude that we learn and we work here where the past and the present and the future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. Haishka Siem. So please join us, won't you? We're going to have a great day. So Barrie, maybe just tell us a little more about the anemones here.
The anemones are part of the original planting. I think everybody remembers, the gardeners remember in the 90s when perennials were starting to become very popular and everybody thought all these plants were new. But in fact, when I look at old plans for the Italian garden from 1913, the anemones were on it. September Charm, which is still sold today. Now these are probably seedlings of seedlings of seedlings. Most anemones like this are bent on world domination. So there tends to be quite a bit of thinning of the crowd, so to speak.
So these could be descendants of the originals.
They are, for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And how about the planters here? So these are original. That's an original one, right?
That's an original one, and we can definitely tell that because we've sort of got a form of 19th century rebar there that you can just see around the top that they used for reinforcing. So in fact, a lot of these, when you look at the older ones, when they're starting to split, they tend to split laterally across the box.
And so we'd be looking, obviously, to replace these as a priority in this garden, right?
Yeah, so there's probably about 8 of them for sure that we should do sooner than later.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite gardens. My office, of course, is right up there, and I look down on it every day. But I also love the Japanese garden, so shall we head there and you can tell us a little bit about that?
I think that would be a good spot to go right now.
Good. So this is the pavilion in the Japanese garden, the pond. Could you just tell us a little bit about the Japanese garden and some of the features?
Well, in here, the pavilion is attached to an island which we call Tortoise Island, and it's part of the mythology prevalent in Japanese gardens and originally from China, that the tortoise and the cranes, which we will also talk about, are symbols of longevity. So the Tortoise Island is where the immortals lived, and it became a symbol of longevity. The cranes used to carry the immortals to the island, so they also became associated with it.
And we used to have cranes, Japanese cranes, on the little island out in the pond here.
We did. The metal started to corrode, and they'd been out there for several years. It would be nice to put them back here.
Yeah, it'd be a nice touch.
Yeah.
And Barrie, could you tell us a little bit about the water wheel too? I know that's a sort of major feature of the garden as well.
Yes, the water wheel, they were originally put in to symbolize the rice mill. And I think in Japan it tended to be more from a later period, from maybe the shoguns or the daimyo's gardens where they would have sort of agricultural features in the garden, so they would have a water wheel.
And so in terms of priorities here, refurbishing the water wheel is sort of high on your list as well. Yes,
it would be nice. It's something that people like and they look for, and it would free up some shop space if we could get it out of there again.
Okay.
Why don't we go up to the glass house and we can pass through the rose garden on our way.
Great. So Barrie, here we are in this amazing glass house. Can you tell us a little bit about the house and what we need to be doing in here?
Well, the house was built somewhere around 1910, 1913. So it's been going ever since then. There used to be a conservatory attached to it. Conservatory came down in a big snowstorm in the 50s and was then completely removed. This, the workhorse, has carried on since, and we still use it. The only building on site still used for its original purpose. There's also a old grapevine that the Dunsmuirs planted, like a black Hamburg. It was the classic grape for growing inside, like everybody in Britain. If you had a vinery, you would have a black Hamburg, and there's one growing at Hampton Court. Been there since, I think, 1768. So, of course, the story is anybody that has one, it's always that it came from a cutting at Hampton Court. And I'm sure that's not really true, but it's a great story and I'm sticking to it. So we still have that.
So what are the main issues in terms of kind of maintenance in here?
What we need to keep on top of probably is keeping, the panes are still kept in with putty, so it's really keeping the putty up, painting on the outside to keep the wood going. Also, I think we'll probably change from, we have just regular glass. In fact, some of the glass is probably, from almost 100 years ago. You can tell it's kind of milky.
Yes.
And ripply, but it is regular glass. And if we have people in here, it really should be tempered glass.
So, I mean, such a wonderful old structure. I mean, there can't be many of these left across the country, in fact. Right?
I would think not, actually. And the fact that it's in a walled garden, I mean, that's another sort of historical impetus to keeping this area going, because there's not many walled gardens in Canada.
Well, Barrie, I just wanted to thank you so much for the amazing tour, and I just want to thank everybody who's going to be watching this video for coming on the tour with us. Of course, we would have much preferred to have done this in person this year, but this is a good substitute. And I'd also encourage people to take a look at the amazing garden videos that we've put together over the last few weeks. They are just incredible. And also, please share this video with your friends and family as well. And later this year, we're going to be asking the community for donations of any size to help us restore, preserve, and protect this amazing heritage. So with that, I'll invite you all to come and visit the gardens yourselves. They open from 10 to 4. So please come and see them in person. But thank you so much for joining us all on the tour today. And thank you so much. And thank you to you and your team for doing such an amazing job here.
It's a pleasure for people to come and see it.
Thank you.